It's Jim and Kayla with another Tesla update here. We're going to do there we go.
You're doing great. Totally fine.
Great. You're watching Kelowna Now. I'm Jim Csek. Kayla Caruana.
Yep.
Did I say that right?
You got it.
There you go.
Good morning.
We promised last time that we were going to go through your 4 years of expenses owning a Tesla.
I brought the receipts.
You brought the receipts. There you go. Because a lot of people say it's not true.
Yeah. Well, and I've gone through kind of all of the costs associated with owning the vehicle too. And I thought that I found some interesting things. So first off, though, it costs $2,000 less to buy it now than when I bought it in 2021.
Down, which is unusual for cars, right? Most cars
go up.
Right?
Yeah. Especially
with Teslas have gone down. And the Model 3 hasn't gone down as much as some of their models. Like the Model S has gone from 120,000 to 99,000.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, mine only went down $2,000, but that's enough, to be honest, of an incentive for me. But so it went down $2,000. And so even with all of the costs associated with it, like the tax and the cost of, for me, there was a cost of borrowing. So that definitely has gone up. When I got it, it was 2.29. You really can't get it for less than 5.
New deal in the States, though. They just put it out for the Model Y. I don't know if it'll make it to Canada. New deal in the United States, Model Y's 0.99 financing.
Really?
Really.
Wow. For how long?
I think it was, and I might get that number wrong, 5 years, I think, or
I'm
something.
just putting you on the spot. Sorry about that.
But I'm just, lots of times what happens in the States kind of slowly flows up here, right? So if he does that up here, I mean, it's just going to go crazy, right?
Yeah, it might come up here too. So that's one of the costs. So it cost me $52,880 originally, and now it's down to $50,990 before taxes.
And that's before the rebates, though, too.
That's before the rebates. So when I did it, there was only the federal rebate of $5,000, and now they have way more incentives. And you were talking about this last time, but essentially the provincial incentives are based on income.
Right.
So they're income based, and essentially if you make less than $80,000 a year, you get up to a $4,000 rebate.
Additional rebate,
yeah. And then the 80 to 90, an additional up to $2,000, and 90 to 100, an extra $1,000.
Yeah. And then again, if you buy a used EV, no tax.
Exactly.
Right? So that's kind of like this $4,000 kind of eliminates the tax, I guess, right?
Yeah, makes sense. And so what I was thinking, when I was going through all of these things, they still have federal rebates as well. So provincial and federal. Right. And then they also have charger rebates. Do you know much about the charger rebates?
I did. For if you do buy a charger, they give you up to about $350, right?
Yeah, I mean, it just says, hey, there's some charger rebates, so just double check. Oh, $350. There you go.
So if you buy a Tesla charger, like if you buy a Tesla, and you buy the Tesla charger, I think they're about $700 online to order one.
Yep. Yeah, I looked that up this morning,
for the charger. And then there's a $350 to get back. And then obviously there's going to be an electrical bill. But again, if you have a dad.
Yeah, if I got an electrician dad, that helps. Yeah. So speaking of the charging costs, I went back and I looked at basically June 2021 to May 2023, and it kind of gave me a bit of an average. I used a regular standard charging station at my apartment, and that charging station I would say would be more expensive
than the Tesla ones.
Than the Tesla station.
They sure are.
Yeah. And so I went back and basically I charged about 9 times per month on average, and it was about $36 a month, which is very low in my opinion.
Compared to gas? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I never have to go to a gas station, but $36 on one of the charging stations on average per month for the ones that are more expensive.
So that's you charging, not like plugged in at home. That's you charging at an actual station.
Yeah, at a station. That was at my apartment building, but so that was convenient. But still, I would say that that's quite inexpensive.
How was it for like getting how many stations did they have at your apartment building?
Only 4.
Only 4, and how was it getting one?
Totally fine. Yeah, I actually got really lucky because in the buildings now, in the newer construction buildings, they require a certain amount of stations, and because I was one of the only EV cars in the whole parking lot, they allowed me to have one spot myself. So I could just
that's your spot, so you get probably better parking space too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's an incentive. You get better parking spot. But I just basically got to park there 24/7, whether I was plugged in or not. But that being said, the cost is quite low. So, and I did a little bit of research on coming back and forth from Vancouver. So you were saying it's about the same cost to Calgary, but it's about $18 to go down to Vancouver and $22 to come back.
Yeah, the Tesla supercharger I ran in Richmond was 19 cents a kilowatt hour. So
wild.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
Calgary was expensive, like 60 cents a kilowatt hour.
Oh, hey.
So yeah, electricity is more expensive in Alberta for sure.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So a little bit of the cost breakdown for the extra things. So I did look up, so I have Toyo winter sports tires. So they were a bit more expensive, but they were $2,200. So I looked that up to just see what the cost was. And then the only things that I've really had to do are the wiper blades, which are about $50, and then filters. And I've had to do those twice.
So that's 4 years of maintenance. That's all you've done.
Yeah. That's
tires,
all I've done.
wiper blades, and what was this other thing?
Filters. And filters.
And the filters are the air cabin filters, right?
They are, yeah. Yeah. So about $24.
In case there's like a chemical warfare or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
You're protected in Tesla.
Exactly. So I've done kind of like quite a debrief. So now I guess in contrast, obviously no gas. That's exciting. So that's a cost savings.
Huge. So most people are probably spending around $1,600 to $2,500 depending on your vehicle a year.
Yeah. And they're coming out with EV tires, I've heard.
Yeah, a little tougher rubber so that
specific
they don't wear
to
as
the
fast.
EVs. Yeah. And then regenerative braking, I guess that's also comes into those tires.
Usually
too.
like in 4 years, you're replacing your brakes or your pads at least, right?
Yep.
And once you do your pads once, your rotors are probably next.
Exactly.
And then with EVs, typically you don't replace the brakes, right? They usually rot out before they wear out.
Yeah.
Because
I haven't had an issue yet.
Yeah. So I was watching a piece this morning on Teslas talking about the safety and how many lives will be saved with full self-drive.
And I feel like the statistics have to be pretty good because one of the I've seen many videos, but one of the videos for the Teslas that it understands what you're doing even before you really know what you're doing. And so in the winter driving and everything that people are a little bit more nervous about, winter driving with an EV, it's the safest vehicle to be out there.
So I think I have 12.3.6 right now.
Yep.
12.4 is coming out. Supposedly Elon said in a week or two to him, maybe might be a month. Who knows, right? But it's coming.
Whenever it comes.
It's supposed to be just like so much better than what's there. The nag is going to be gone.
Yep.
The nag meaning touch the steering wheel every 45. Well, I mean,
it is nagging.
Yeah. So the nag is supposed to be removed. So that'll be awesome.
That's great.
No nag. And the cars will communicate with each other.
Interesting.
Which is cool in that, say, if I go down a dead end street and get down there, it'll actually tell other Teslas not to go down there.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the cars start communicating with each other, they can also communiate traffic. Do you know what I mean? It would be communicating a whole bunch of stuff.
It will be
between the cars.
That's very futuristic.
And I think they've got it was announced this morning or something that they've got a bunch of test cities in China right now for full self-drive.
Wild.
So it's going quick.
Yeah.
It's going quick.
We're ahead of the curve.
We're ahead of the curve. I'm using it every day, and I just absolutely love it.
That's crazy. I love it too. I mean, I'm into it. Obviously, we're a little bit biased though.
We're a little bit crazy.
I found this one thing that I was going to show you. So this is the cheapest brands to maintain long term. So to better understand how the costs increase over time and differ by brand. And this is a 2023 report.
Yep.
And Tesla.
Number one.
Yeah,
no, I saw that report as well.
Yeah.
Tesla's number one. There's very little to maintain. Mm-hmm. There's very, very little to maintain. Like oil changes in my pickup truck were, like $700.
That's exactly it.
Even in a regular vehicle now, you're looking at $100 to $150 just for a regular oil change in a vehicle. And you're supposed to do this, I think, twice a year.
Yeah. Well, and that's what the other thing too is that I was talking to, I said this last time, a guy who owns a tire shop, and he's like, oh, you need to go look at your maintenance, basically manual to double check everything. And it says really 4 years or when you need it. So I'm already up to date.
I know when I went to get my winter tires put on my Tesla, the guy said, hey, I'm going to give you free oil changes, free mufflers, and he'll give me a whole list of free things he's going to give me.
You're like, I don't need any of those, but thank you. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, no, it's
that's funny.
Tires is the biggest thing, and that's such a nice thing because even in you buy some of the better cars, and they do have a maintenance schedule that you have to kind of do. They have these checks.
Yeah, you have to follow it for warranty.
Like $500 for them to tighten all the bolts on the car.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
It's so true.
Why didn't you tighten them the first time?
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, I did that already. I swear. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so no, that's amazing to have that. Like Isn't 4 years. How many miles you got on that thing now?
So I'm actually lower. I'm about 26,000. So not very much for a regular.
26,000, yeah. So you're basically using it for work and back.
Yeah. And I live in Lake Country, so
yeah.
I would say the biggest cost to me was the tires. That's kind of my biggest cost. Other than that,
so you're still running your 2 original sets.
You
got a set of winters and a set of.
I am. And even the guy at the shop was like, "Oh, I don't know if you'll necessarily need it yet, but."
And the Model 3 is a lighter car than the other ones. The X's and the S, and that. It's
despite people saying it's very heavy. It is it's a heavy vehicle, but it's the lightest of the Teslas, right?
And I've driven an S, an X, and a 3, and definitely the the 3 feels so nimble, right? So
yeah, it does.
The X feels pretty bulky.
Yeah, right? Especially with the self-driving. How are you liking it?
I love it. Yeah. I absolutely love the self-driving. I use it every day. I would hate to go back, right? Because, like even when I go golfing, as I take them to the golf course, and if they get rid of the nag, because, you're always watching for that flash, right, to touch the wheel. Right?
And now they must be using some sort of interior camera, because every once in a while I'm getting a thing that says, "Hey, pay attention." And I'm like, I'm just wearing sunglasses. I swear I'm paying attention.
Holding your iPhone up here.
yeah, exactly. Not quite that. But every time I wear sunglasses, it's like, "Hey, are you paying attention?" I'm like, "Yeah, I swear that I am."
And again, I would recommend people just test drive one, or and
see if you like it.
And then
Tesla should start paying us.
They should.
If you're watching this,
they're actually scratching the dirt out there, so they're building that new facility out there. So
that's actually the one downfall I had. Just in the small list of downfalls was driving to Vancouver to pick it up. But now that you don't have to do that.
And there's a lot of Teslas in Kelowna now.
Yeah, there is.
Like I'm seeing a lot.
Have you ever had a lineup at one of the charging stations at all or anything? I haven't.
Once in Calgary.
Oh, okay.
Once in Calgary. And here's the coolest thing. In Calgary at the mall, Cross Irons.
Yep.
Because that's the only place. Alberta's not as friendly to EVs, but maybe they'll get better. But so you had to go out to Cross Iron to the supercharger station. And there was probably a lineup of I think they have 20 stalls.
Okay.
And then there was probably a lineup of another 6 people. But Tesla had reps out there handing out bottles of water and explaining, that it's okay.
Really? That's funny. So they knew that they needed to do a little bit of
PR,
damage control.
But again, people say you're waiting to charge and stuff like that, or you're waiting there to charge. Ever watch the people at Costco?
Yes, exactly.
They're waiting there because the gas is so expensive that they're waiting, 15, 20 minutes just in line to get fuel.
Exactly. I'm thinking because people did have that issue over a long weekend going to Vancouver. So there was a lineup at the Hope charging station one time.
Hope has 2. Hope has one on the left side and the right side, right?
Yeah, I think this was before
they had the other one?
They had the other one.
Okay.
But I mean, even if they had the other one, people do complain about that. And then they complain about, actually sitting at the charging station. It doesn't actually take that long. I think it takes way less time than people think.
So if you run them the way they're supposed to be running, just run to 80%, it goes quite fast. The battery charges 0 to 80 quite quickly. It's the last 20% that takes a little bit longer. But if you ever go to Merritt to charge, there's chargers by the gas station, but then there's more chargers in by the Mr. Mike's and all that stuff.
Yes.
So there's a ton of chargers.
That's the one I use. Right? Yeah. And I find that when you're sitting at this charging station, it's actually not very long. But if you've preconditioned your battery, I think that's the biggest mistake people make is they don't actually put it into their system and then have it preconditioned by the time they arrive.
And you can watch Netflix or Disney or YouTube videos.
You can do whatever you want in there.
waiting.
Yeah. And also it's just a matter of time before people kind of start to sync up their lunches and dinners and things like that with the charging stations.
I mean, for me, when people say one of the myths is you have to wait to charge all the time, I basically don't wait at all because I just charge at home and I charge right now once a week. Right?
Yeah.
So I get home, I plug it in once a week. So I'm never waiting at the gas station.
Me either.
I'm not. I'm not waiting in line. I'm not doing anything. I just go home and park.
Exactly. Me too.
And we have 3 Teslas running off one charger.
Exactly.
So, the other 2 don't maybe charge once every 2 weeks, right? So it's
because they have a bigger
battery.
Yeah.
So
and
it's just how you position yourself in the driveway,
garage,
right? So.
Yeah, it's in the driveway. Yeah, I found that even when I was charging, so that's one thing. You're charging more in the winter time than you are. Sure. That's what I was figuring out here. Yeah. So in the winter time, you guys are still fine with one charger?
Yeah,
3 cars.
Yeah. I mean, definitely charging more, probably twice a week.
Yeah, more frequently.
Because you're running the heat all the time too, right? Like,
and you're warming it up when you're inside.
So it's so nice, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the nice thing too, even in the summer, if you're out golfing, when you're
cool it down,
it can be climate friendly when you get in.
I love that. That's my favorite part. Yeah. That is my favorite part. Do you guys ever, so when you're doing your charging at home, are you ever doing I'm leaving at 8:30?
Like timer charge?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't used it yet. I just
you
never
leave
found
it
a
like,
need for it.
what, 3? Yeah,
3 in the morning.
Tesla's like, that's a bit early for me, but I'm okay.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been an issue, so it's been good. Like we have I think a 40 amp charger, right?
So it works out.
Basically a dryer plug. If anybody tells you they're special chargers, they're a dryer plug.
It's just a dryer plug. It's a trick. Yeah, that's funny.
Just tell the electrician to install a dryer plug and then give him the charger at the end.
Yeah, and this is actually what it's for. So we'll let my dad know.
Don't tell him it's a Tesla charger.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
Anyway, that's about it for this one, right? We're really going to focus on the...
Was there any other costs we wanted to know about? The taxes haven't changed.
The taxes are going to be the same. The big advantage of buying a used one is definitely no tax.
Absolutely,
right? Zero taxes on a used Tesla. Or I shouldn't say Tesla. Any EV, zero taxes.
Yeah, which saves you, let's just see here. That's about $6,000? $6,300?
Yeah, it's going to be 12% on 60 for $50,000.
Yeah.
Right? So $6,000.
It looks like GST, PST, or similar tax. Yeah, $6,300.
So, and on a used vehicle, if you buy it from a dealership, a used EV at a dealership will just have the GST.
Oh, interesting.
So you only pay the 5% on a used EV at a dealership.
Okay.
If you buy a used gas car at a dealership, you'll pay 12%. If you buy that'll be PST and GST. If you buy a used gas car from somebody, you'll pay 12% PST. There's no GST, but PST starts at 12.
Okay.
For used gas cars. And if it's over $50,000, it starts to step up.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess you're just kind of trying to outweigh the benefits of, I guess if you're financing, also the financing cost, but just trying to outweigh the benefits of buying.
Well, I mean, that's a huge start. If you're buying a used car, a $50,000 used, because you can buy a ton of Model S's right now. Some with free supercharging for life. Some of them come with free supercharging.
Because they came with that. Yeah.
And say it's $38,000. No tax. It's a huge advantage right out of the gate, right? Over a gas car.
Especially if the cost of charging is going to go up over time or,
I mean, if you put solar on your roof, then, you basically eliminated any of those increases as well.
That's true,
right? You basically bought a futures
different
contract.
Rebates for that.
There's more rebates there too, right? So maybe in the next episode, we can talk about this dealership that's going to find out when it's going to be done and also talk about a little bit more on the full self-drive.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me.
Maybe we'll do it in the car. We'll have to go for a drive.
Oh, we'll do it. Yeah. To go piece. I love it. That's funny.
All right. Thank you. You've been watching Kelowna Now.